Go.
Disclaimer, we'd like to note before the start of this interview that the opinions about to be expressed by the guest of tonight's Gettin Salty Experience podcast are that of the guest and do not directly or necessarily reflect the views of the host of the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
You're listening to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
And away we go. Tanks in. Look.
Let's go. What's up, fam?
Here?
That one dude with the hair.
Who's missing here, Roof? You're here. Tank's here.
I'm here, baby.
Oh,
the Love Boat Commander.
Oh, God. He is here, Gonzo. I saw him somewhere in the back. Let me see if I can find Gonzo? Gonzo, you there?
Gonzo.
Oh, there he is. Oh, the Love Boat. He's on another cruise, this guy. Captain.
Who was that again? Captain Stubing.
Stubing, yes.
Oh, Stubing, right.
Stubing.
He was too nice.
Nice guy. Yeah, I was going to find a picture of Gopher. That would have been better, probably.
Doc. You got Doc and Isaac. Isaac was the bartender?
Oh, yeah. He was hitting more ass than toilet seat. That guy, bro. Isaac. Then we got another good show, a follow-up show. This guy's trying to beat Lieb on how many times he can get.
I was going to say, it's going to be
right.
Yeah. Like
It's starting to be a competition with everybody.
We don't need no stinking Lieb. We got Ceriello. We got him, bro. But before, listen, I got to show you this picture. Check this one out. This might blind you. Stand by. Look at this. Circa 1988. Look at those two guys.
Shaman.
What in the world are we wearing there, bro? I don't even know what that is.
I want those pants.
I have jorts on, and Lou's looks like he just joined the circus. He's got parachute pants on or something. And who's that, your cousin?
That's my cousin.
Louis? Wow. Circa 1988. For all you fuckers who think I had no hair, look at that one, baby.
Where's the other? You have the other one?
I didn't download the other one.
Oh, you didn't download?
Yeah.
I have it?
That's scary.
Dude, that's silly.
MC Hammer pants, yes.
Yeah, put that one up close, Gons.
Oh,
I'm not Gons, but it's okay.
I look like I got a hair helmet on. Man, what I wouldn't give to have that back.
Wow, we've really been around a long time.
Woo.
Day or two.
How could those pants? I remember those pants being like so, like you couldn't wait to have. Yeah, like so crazy to wear that. Like those were like the gym pants, right?
What you said to me? You said when you said that, you let me walk around in those pants, and I wrote, apparently so. I mean, really, I didn't think nothing of it, back then.
I'm gonna have to post that to the fan page tomorrow.
Oh, we'll go crazy.
Boys, let the boys have at it.
It'll be great.
Right up, man. Yep, Gaby Fox. I reached out to my man, Gaby Fox. I needed him this weekend, bro. I went to a big party. I was tempted for the drink. I had it on my lips. I said, let me call Gaby Fox, bro. He talked me off the ledge. I'm back on a Diet Coke. Never touched the stuff, see?
Come on. Good man. I dig it.
People. Him and Ronzoni are my two go-to guys.
The Fox?
Yeah, Gaby Fox. Yeah. We got another good show tonight. What else? Anything else? We will not have a show next Thursday. Is it next Thursday, Roof? No, we will have a show next Thursday. Roofy won't be here. Kenny will be filling in for the Roofopotamus because it's his birthday. Big 5'8".
5'8", baby.
Wow.
You want to spend your birthday with us, bro?
Looking great. 5'8", man.
Looking great. You're already 5'8".
I know.
You're looking pretty good.
Oh, not bad. Not bad. Where you going? You playing golf? What are you doing? Your lady's taking you out?
Going to Florida.
Oh, what?
Going out to check out the house. Yeah.
New house?
Uh-oh.
The new digs.
Tanky, he just bought another house. It's
another one.
Where is Roofies? Yeah, not home. Is he in Florida?
It's not a house. It's not a house. It's a
what is it?
Condo or something.
It don't matter.
Condo.
It's just
townhouse. Townhouse.
It's a townhouse.
Is it on the golf course?
Money is what it is. It's still money. It still costs money.
Yeah.
But now you can come down when you want to search around. We'll play some golf.
What is it called? Bushwood? Where is it?
And I never slice.
I'm going to turn this into condos. Bushwood.
Bushwood.
Yeah.
There's no gambling in Bushwood.
Pizza cutter sales are good, Gaby. You know that. I've been putting together. Wait till you see all the commercials I've been fooling around with AI. Bro. I have fights with the guy on AI, bro, and he answers me back. And he messes something up 5 times in a row. I go, God damn, how many credits are you going to cost me? You keep putting the wrong stuff. He goes, I apologize, but I can't give you a refund on your credits. I understand your frustration. I'm having a conversation with a robot, basically.
What do you mean credits? Right. I thought it was free. You could pay for extra?
Free. It's nothing free, bro.
No.
Nothing free. No. But I think they make mistakes on purpose. So you can keep charging me credits. I'm like, dude, let's go. I get a show.
How much is a credit?
You get 6,000 credits for like $30 or something like that.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, but you go through them like water when this guy's.
And then what is that like? Oh, if you're using them to make cheesy commercials, then yeah.
Well, wait till you see him like cheesy commercials, bro. You're gonna love them. We'll play it on the show for you guys, just for you guys.
We'll see.
We'll get them everywhere. All right, let's play. Speaking of commercials, let's get Vince on. We only got Vince, and we have Collectors Club later, and we're giving you light commercials today. We'll go light on the commercials because we got to get the captain in here.
All right, here we go. Armor Tough.
When it comes to firehouses, the floors take a beating. Boots, waters, tools, apparatus traffic, it just never stops. That's why departments like the Gloucester City, New Jersey Fire Department and so many others trust Armor Tough flooring and tile. From the hallways to the training rooms to the apparatus bays, Armor Tough delivers a clean, professional finish built to handle the daily grind of the job. Durable, seamless, and designed specifically for high-demand public safety environments, this isn't just flooring, it's infrastructure you can count on. And it doesn't stop at the floor. Take a look at the Groves Gear Racks, built with integrated security features to protect turnout gear, personal equipment, and department assets. Secure storage, smart design, and built to last, because your gear deserves the same protection you provide to your community. If your department is ready to upgrade its space from the bay floor to the gear room, reach out to Armor Tough Flooring and Tile, built for the fire service, built to last.
Looking forward to all you guys coming to 288 on 9/11. It's going to be great, man. We've got a lot of guys are reaching out to me. It's humbling to pay your respect to the guys that we lost, man. We really appreciate it. And you'll get to see a sober Coobs, which is like a rare sighting, right, Roof? Like
it's crazy. It's
like
wild.
A unicorn or something?
Yeah, after the ceremony, we go to up the road to O'Neill's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which has been there since 1933. And,
so we burnt it down when I was working at night. So I burnt it down. And
thankfully somebody built it back.
And then he says, I can't feel my face.
Yeah, no more. You'll have a full sober Coobs there. All right, let's get the captain in here because we got a lot of good material to get into. The last show went really fast, man. Let's get him in here. Let me get on my sound effects because we don't have Gonzo's sound effects here. Stand by.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not that cool.
Too cool.
I just got a good mustache. I don't have that hair.
Where is it? All right, bring him in, Ruff.
Coming to the stage, FDNY, former Rescue One Captain John Ceriello.
You call for a guy with great hair? You got him, Tank.
That's
right
fact.
there, man.
That's a fact.
That is.
And he's got a beard too. I'm jealous of that always.
It's a very handsome beard.
Take my Irish blood.
All right, before we get silly here and serious, let's get patriotic because we all are lovers of this country, and we want to show it. Do it, Tank.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I also found this great photo of the captain doing it while he was in Rescue One. He was getting it done.
Fantastic.
Wow, look at that.
Whose door is that? What door is it? It's off the rig? The old rig?
That's a Davy Williams collection of that was off the door of, I believe, the old Rescue One Mac rig.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's got it stored because they did the artwork on it, and he's got a great story about how he ended up with that door. But it's those things would end up in a trash heap somewhere, and
Dude, that's better than having a gold bar, that thing. Oh my God. You could sell that for any number. Forget about it.
Davy's such a great guy. A little reach out to him. Wonderful man. He's got some health challenges right now. We're all pulling for him, and he's just such a dedicated, former member of this department. We have so many of them, but Davey does so much. It's unbelievable, including his
right? Like cars, rigs. He's just a talented guy, man.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. So amazing.
7-Up.
Yeah. So
and he's got a great flat top, bro.
He does.
Right?
He still has it. Yeah.
I think he was in Vietnam too, wasn't he?
I don't know if he was a vet, but I think he was. He's from that era, no doubt.
He like a CB or something? He was something really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, where do you want to jump back in, Cap?
So listen, we went over, the last episode about simple fire dynamics. We started into the wind impacted study. But again, this is all, unfortunately, most of the FDNYs traveling down this road was due to tragedy, right? And thank God we're a department that doesn't sit back on its laurels. It's like, hey, why did that happen? And what are we going to do about it? And here, if you look at this quick extreme wind driven events, you can see the FDNY and the Chicago Fire Department were working hand in hand in trying to wrap their brains around it. They're dealing with the water off of the Lake Michigan, although that's going to be, I think, Lake America. Oh, no, that's the other lake. But anyway, off of Lake Michigan.
Oh, quick jab in there. Quick jab. Go ahead.
That's off of Lake Michigan. And we're dealing with, what goes on off either the south end of Queens and off the Hudson River. Like, we're always have those winds to contend with on a regular basis. And, after a bunch of these tragedies, our department said enough is enough. I mentioned a little bit last time just about how all the training kind of came together, really because Jerry Tracy was this curious individual about what the hell's happening out there, and he had these friends at NIST, and what people really don't, I think, understand is if you don't have the commitment of your staff, because it ain't going to be cheap when you go to do any endeavor like this, and that's always like, everyone says, well, why don't we just do some testing? It takes a tremendous amount of money to do this type of testing, but we were fortunate enough to have an island off the southern tip of Manhattan, right off of Brooklyn, Buttermilk Channel. But Mike Wineline, Chief Wineline, if anybody remembers him, he was a great guy. Yep. He knew of these buildings and what was going to happen on Governor's Island. And they had a bunch of buildings. And just think about it. You try to burn a building on the Upper East Side. What do you think what's the community board going to say? You're not doing that here. I happen to know a group right now that's trying to just get one EV car burned somewhere and try to test some things on it. And nobody wants to touch it. Environmental this, environmental that. So here we had an island that was isolated, and we can control it with security because there's only one ferry that goes back and forth. And it really was ideal, for that all to happen. But leading up to that was where we were before Governor's Island was we went to Chicago. And actually on the left there, you have Toledo, Ohio. And that was where I'd mentioned last time that Jerry Tracy said, we're going to blow air into a building. I didn't even know what a PPV van was back then. And I was in, and we went there and we learned that, yes, we can actually pressurize stairwells with gas powered fans and effectively create a pressure envelope in a stairwell so that the fire service can use it as a staging front to attack the fire, and or civilians can get down in a clear, smoke-free environment. I don't know. It sounds pretty good to me.
What year are we talking about here? What year?
So that was 2006, the Toledo, Ohio. And that was right after George Healy had his fire in Rockaway. That was the same building that Jimmy Williams died in. That fire is what got everything rolling. And NIST just happened to be acquiring this building. Now, why is a 30-story high-rise building vacant in Toledo, Ohio?
That's a good question.
Kind of crazy. The owner is using the roof for cell towers. And back then, I think he was bringing in $30,000 a month. He did the rest of the building. He didn't want to renovate it. He didn't want tenants. He didn't need them. 30 grand a month, and I'm sure it's a lot more than that now, but this is quite a long time ago, 20 years ago. So so they were able to get in there, and we blew air into it, and we even used a fan boat to push air into the stairwell, and it worked really well. And so we knew it worked. However, there were two chiefs from Chicago there. I know Patty Lynch was a captain at the time of one of their squad companies, and Pete Van Dorp was there. And they basically said, listen, this is wonderful. You're blowing air into a building. It works. We get the pressure. It's fantastic. This isn't up against fire. If you don't do this up against fire, my guys in Chicago are not going to want to, deal with it at all. They're not going to believe in it at all. Just go back to that picture again. So that second shot on the right, that's the Robert Taylor houses. They're project style houses that we have very similar ones in New York City. And that was the last of 28 buildings that the city was taking down along the south side. Kaminsky Park is right near this particular building. And we had full reign to do whatever we wanted in the building. Chicago Fire Department, obviously, and the New York City Fire Department. So the next thing I know, we from Toledo, Ohio, we're now heading out to Chicago. And I remember telling Jerry Tracy, I'm like, Chief, if another chief bounces me out of this, because I was just a newly promoted lieutenant at the time, I said, don't worry about it. I'll get my way out there. And I can tell you, it was one of the most incredible weeks of live fire burn, pressurizing stairwells, trying to see, what wind is really doing inside a structure to these fires. As a side note, Chief Galvin was set to meet us there. I think George Healy, myself, and Jerry Tracy went out early in the week. Around Wednesday, Chief Galvin's coming out, and he tells a story. He's driving in his car to the airport, and he's like, I hope I get a flat tire. He goes, I got 110 things going on in New York City. I have no time to be doing this. But he makes it out there. We got a fire going on maybe the 5th floor. Stem to stern. There's pallets loaded up in this apartment. The whole place is roaring. Pressurize the stairwell. So the 1st floor doors open. The 5th floor doors open. The bulkhead is closed. That pressurization, now remember, the Chicago Fire Department has a large hydraulic ventilation fan to utilize in these situations. They're pressurizing the stairwell. Chief Galvin and another chief at the time, Bobby Hoff, who, by the way, backdraft is the story of he and his brother who lost their father in the Chicago Fire Department. It's kind of modeled after their lives. Great guy, Bobby Hoff. Super.
He became chief of department, I think, didn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah, and he might be commissioner at some point as well.
Yeah, great guy.
Has he ever been on the show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, so Bobby's a wonderful man.
He really is. Yep.
But he and Galvin are on the 5th floor at the door to the apartment. It's 70 degrees where they're standing. It's 1,400 degrees inside the apartment. They're wearing helmet. They got protective gear on, but they no extra protective gear. And the door on the 1st floor inadvertently closes. It's no longer 70 degrees where they're.
No.
So they tell the story. They scamper down the hallway. They get into the stairwell. They're fine. They shut the door. Everything's fine. No near miss or anything. It just that condition changed like that.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have the pressurization coming out of that stairwell and moving down the hallway towards the fire department. Anyway, he goes back to Cassano, Chief Cassano, another phenomenal guy, and says, this is legit. This is no joke. All right. So that's kind of where a lot of the impetus to head towards Governor's Island happened. However, while we're in Chicago, a whole bunch of different experiments going on. But we do one in particular, and we'll show the video in a second, and I'll do a quick voiceover for it as it plays. But we were supposed to do this test on the Friday, on Media Day. They were going to have the whole media come, explain what we were doing, show this fire, and then talk to the media afterwards. Thursday afternoon, Dan Majkowski, lead engineer for UL at the time, who's now with UL, he goes, because it brings everyone together, and he goes, hey, listen, I'm not really sure how this is going to go. We've really never lit a room on fire, took a fan, dial it into 20 miles per hour. And why 20 miles per hour? Because we believe that was the miles per hour for the Vandalia Avenue fire. blow in that window, and let's see what happens. Door to the apartment being open, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So he goes, we'll do it Thursday afternoon. We'll capture what we need to capture. And then Friday, we'll burn some pallets. We'll tell the media, this is what we did. This is what we learned, right? And there'll be no egg on anyone's face. 10-4K. So off we go. So now you can play the video. So you're going to see a room with a bunk bed, right, on the upper left corner.
Somehow I have a feeling this is going to go good.
I think it will. And so you'll see the fire starting to grow. And, oh, you mean the fire itself go bad? No,
yeah.
Good point, Louis. You're very intuitive. So that window, that's the brightness of the sun. That's where the fan is set, right outside that window. The one on the top right, that's the living room. You can see smoke traveling along the ceiling right about now, right? Just starting to tickle in there. And the two lower ones, one is a regular video of the hallway looking at the door, and one is a thermal imager looking at the door. And there's some equipment for measuring temperature and heat flux and flow path control and things of those natures. So now the fire is growing. We let it go to flash over, and we start the fan. So just you'll watch the smoke change when it flashes over the room, and then the fan started again, trying to replicate a flashed over room, failing a window, and then introducing the wind into that particular space. Now, at the same time, I'm on the floor above here, and we have a fire blanket staged. If anything goes bad, to drop the fire blanket. Hold that thought.
The bottom right is the doorway going out into the hall?
Is open.
Yeah.
Just like so many of them are open at the Macaulay Culkin fire, Vandalia Avenue.
And that's the thermal imagery you got on that one.
You can see the heat now coming into the hallway, right?
Yeah.
Some smoke in the hallway. Smoke is banking down in the living room.
Yeah.
Right about now is when the fan starts. Okay. You see the smoke change. You see the thermal imprint on that hallway, the thermal insult coming into the hallway there. Now it's floor to ceiling, right? Now notice the temperature there. That's not the temperature of the gases at all. Now we got flames in the hallway. Those flames you see in the hallway, Dominic Carino, looking at this video, said, John, that's exactly what it looked like at Vandalia Avenue when they were trying to open the door and peek into the hallway. That's what they saw. Look at the flames hitting the wall there. You can see, again, floor to ceiling heat. The reason you're starting to see cameras go black is because those cameras that were protected by insulation, a copper line with water flowing through them, designed to handle that temperature, you can cut it now, handle that temperature, failed, and the cameras failed. At one point, steam was coming out of the copper pipe below, and one of the engineers goes, I've never seen that before. So that's how extreme the temperatures got that quickly. And
what was that, 30 seconds maybe? How long was that? 30, 40 seconds?
Well, once the wind introduces into that, it's within seconds. Anyone in that situation is probably not getting out of there. You're not going to move quick enough. And we know, what killed the members on Vandalia Avenue, right? They called it hyperthermia, not hypothermia, hyper. Their core temperature got too hard and they went down, and they never moved after that. So that video right there, and so with me on the floor above, with all the radio chatter, we never released the blanket to drop over the windows. So we lost that experiment right there. But we learned an awful lot. And really what came back was Dan Medzkowski had done computer modeling for Vandalia Avenue, and he never released it because he felt there's no way the temperature spiked that quickly. It's impossible. Guess what? Not impossible. No. And that's exactly what happened.
And they were on a 20. What floor were they on? Like they were up there, 15.
In Vandalia Avenue, I believe the top floor was
I forget.
12?
Yeah, 12 maybe.
Building? Yeah. No.
Hey, how did you guys determine that?
No, 10. It was a 10-story building. What's that?
How did you determine that the wind was 20 miles an hour at Vandalia?
Okay, so there is a way to get historical data. If you go back, no matter when the fire is, you can do this yourselves too on Weather Underground. When you punch in the date and like the closest, New York City, whatever, it will give you the legacy historical wind for that day. And then you could look at the time and kind of line it up. Now, I've done that, like, for instance, at the Avenue N fire. the line of duty debt there. I actually went on it and gathered that intel out of Weather Underground, and it clearly showed it was like a southeasterly wind coming off the water, hitting the back of that building. And every time we do that, we can figure that out. So that's how they did it. There's a weather station in like the lower harbor. There's one at JFK Airport, there's one at LaGuardia, and you look at all those for that time frame, and it gives you the general idea of the wind that day where it was. And that particular one was hitting pretty square at Vandalia Avenue, the back of the building, you know. Right. So now we do that experiment. We learn all those things, and we're like, you know, no media here, thank God. And but that certainly said, you know what, we need to delve into this deeper, and that's what led to Governor's Island, right? So we have those buildings, and you know, we started a number of experiments there. There you go. There's the dog bone building on the left. That was where we did most of that. The wind impact is Now it's a smaller building, but it's still a fireproof building, so we could get and glean the information we wanted to. You can see the island there. There's a fort, an old 1800s fort, which is pretty impressive when you're there. The dog bone buildings are gone now, and they, you know, it's a big park where you can do glamping there for $600 a night.
Huh. Was this occupied at all when you guys went there?
No, it was vacant.
Nobody.
Except for the one main building was occupied, or the buildings near the ferry were occupied. But it used to be an Army installation. It's funny, my 92-year-old volunteer firefighter uncle of mine, who was a chief in 1962 in Roslyn, he was stationed there with the Army in the during the Korean War. So it used to be, you know, and then the last, I think, occupants were the Coast Guard. And that's who had built those townhouses that we'll talk about later. So just an incredible, you know, opportunity, you know. And again, you got to put resources together. You got to find the money. You got to get people involved. So who did the security of those that come on the island? You couldn't just show up. You know, they rotated different engine and truck companies each day, so more people got exposed to the research. Right. But the fire marshals were at the dock and like, you, yes, you, yes, you, no. No, you're not just coming on the island. You can't do that. They got the INT involved, and they were phenomenal. All the logistics for the meals, you know, just the equipment coming if something broke and we needed something else, like they took care of all that. They did a fantastic job. If you've never dealt with the INT team, they're really quite incredible. So, you know, without all that support, none of this happens. But the one of the funny stories was, so they get everyone together at the beginning of the whole thing, and the chiefs are addressing the crowd. Chief Galvin, Mike McPartland addressing, and then at one point, our good friend Jerry Tracy, Chief Tracy, basically tells them, "This is my daughter's wedding. You've been invited to my daughter's wedding." And basically what he was telling the guys was this: if you think you're going to come out here and do a little bit of work and take a mark because you're looking to, let's say, do a little side shuffle there, not happening. You will be picked up, you will be deposited in Buttermilk Channel, and you will float out to the lower harbor. Never to be seen again.
See, as a squad father, you could say that. You know what I mean? Squad father.
It was.
You can't refuse.
And so, guess what? So after the whole week, guess how many injuries there were? How many CD-72s?
Zero.
I was going to ask you how long it lasted. It lasted a whole week, 7 straight days? Or what?
Yeah, even more so. Yeah, it was even maybe 8 days. Yeah, it was unbelievable. But all right, so what you know, why were we there? All right. So there was a bunch of things. We were going to do some pressurization of the stairwells under real, you know, more realistic fire conditions than what we were doing in Chicago. And then we were going to implement some of the other tools that they were looking at, right? Everything from a high-rise nozzle, okay, to some way to block the wind, right? And there's a really historical, interesting story with that. Did you have Kevin Shea on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Kevin, just an absolute gentleman on so many levels, and a wealth of knowledge about the FDNY and everything he's done since He was, had to leave the job with his injuries and everything. Just an incredible individual. But he tells me a great story years later. Right? So 108 truck, and that first slide we showed where there was some, I think Montrose Court was one of the late 80s fires, the 1980, whatever it was. He's in 108 truck. They have this fire where it's wind impacted. They can't get down the hallway. I think a civilian died in the opposite apartment across the hallway, right? So do we have to search all the apartments on that floor? What do you think? Yeah. You can't take that for granted, right? That's why the logistics of a high-rise fire is so difficult, including with or without wind. But anyway, so after the fire, they like, how can we block the wind here? Like, what can we possibly do? You remember, this is 1980, it's a long time ago. So 108 is attached to NYPD, right?
Yep.
The issue unit.
Yeah.
So the members, just like Kevin or whoever, goes over and says, hey, you guys got any old bomb blankets or anything, And they're like, maybe, yeah. Well, what do you want to do with that? Well, if we get a fire, maybe with some hooks, we could lower it over the window and block.
Get the hell out of here! Really?
You need to get a door shut, right? They were like, yeah. Okay, see you later. Goodbye. So then they get a bright idea. Remember the old aerial scopes? Remember that aluminized sheet
Yes.
around?
Yeah.
It was one underneath and one around the sides, right?
You could hide behind it.
There you
Somewhat.
go. So they call tech services and they're like, hey, can you send us one of them? Those drapes, those blankets, whatever they are. Oh yeah, no problem. Thermal shield, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, no problem. And the guy at tech services goes, wait a minute. Dials him back. He goes, you guys are a rear mount. What the hell are you going to do with that thing? Oh, listen, we get a fire and it's wind impacted. We're going to drop it over the window. They're like, you're not doing that. It kind of falls by the wayside. Other than another brilliant man who's going through those companies as a covering lieutenant is none other than Chief John Norman. Years later, Chief Norman and I got to think some of the other chiefs back then, they developed the fire blanket. And it came from that concept all those years before. So pretty interesting stuff, right?
Which one did you have when you were in Chicago that you guys forgot to drop?
It was like an early version of the fire blanket. It's 10 by 12, really big device, very difficult to deploy. But again, if you want to try to block the wind, it would do the job. Yeah. We ended up testing it at.
How did you wind up putting that fire out anyway?
So what this one is, so the chiefs developed the fire blanket. This is the KO curtain developed by members in 19 truck. So Patty Kilduff and Tommy Oswald are two members there that they, where 19 truck is?
Yeah, by the projects right there.
Exactly. So they are well experienced at project fires. And they were thinking the same thing. We got to figure out how to block this wind. They developed the KO curtain. Smaller device, a little more maneuverable. And when we tested it, when you drop this over a window, you would drop within about 60 seconds, you were dropping the temperatures in half and they continued to nosedive simply because you were taking the wind out of it. Now, initially, when we got out to Governor's Island, the KO curtain wasn't in the mix. And I remember the day Patty Kilduff kind of approached me in a reserved way. He's like, hey, John, you got a minute? And I'm like, what's up, Patty? He goes, listen, we have this device and you think maybe we could look at it? I said, listen, we're looking at everything. Let's go. We go up to the roof. We deploy it. I said, and including George and Jerry right away were like, that works. Not that the fire blanket doesn't work. That works too. It's just bigger. So if I have a bigger window or a bigger set of windows, that's probably a better tool. For one window, and that's where most of our fires really occur in a project, a one window scenario, this KO curtain 6 by 8. It's much better. So we tested it and we saw that reduction in temperature really rapidly. Now, those members, the real idea was, if you think about it, if you look at Vandalia Avenue and you look at Rockaway with Jimmy Williams, where were they pinned down? Where were they dying?
The hallway.
Always. Mm-hmm. Okay. The idea of the KO curtain really is drop over that window, Stop that convected current. Remember, we talked about convected current last time, how the convected moving heat is a true danger to a firefighter because it just overwhelms your bunker gear rapidly. Right. Stop that convected current, get down the hallway, get your person that's down, but get the door shut. Get the door shut to the apartment. Let's get our person to safety. Hopefully they're going to make it. And then we'll figure out what the hell we're going to do.
Right.
If you were to present it that way to the New York City Fire Department as a whole, we're dropping a curtain and we're not fighting this fire, that wouldn't go over very well.
Nah.
Right? Okay, so all I'll say about when you're in that rare situation of a wind-impacted fire and you drop a curtain, just understand if you now take a hand line on the interior and go fight that fire and another window fails, this could be a problem. Just something to think about. You know, does
John,
dropping the curtain buy us some time to get the high-rise nozzle in play? And we'll talk about the high-rise nozzle in a second. Get that in play? I would say, yeah. That because water on the fire is always better. Or if you get that apartment door shut, can you go to an adjoining apartment, knock a hole in the wall, and get water on that fire? Just saying, it gives you options. It's a tool to give you options. We're again at the New York City Fire Department. We have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all the way down to Z. You can't just be like, we got one way, frontal attack. No, it can't be that way in these fires. That's how our members get hurt and killed. We have to have different plans, and it takes a tremendous amount of coordination. Now, I could talk all night. Go ahead.
Johnny, hold on one second. Let me ask you this because it's on my mind. I don't want to forget it. Thinking about coordination. In your time, if you could, I'm sure there's a number. I would hope that the job keeps track of this somewhat.
Yep.
But for the amount of times that we've had wind-driven fire where the chief made the call to get the blanket into operation, whatever it was, I'll give you X amount of time. It doesn't even matter. How long does it take before that's in operation? And does it always get into operation, or is there issues with getting it into operation?
Yeah, no. It basically goes like this. It's probably been well over, there's 50 or 60 deployments. Okay. I would say maybe half of those, half were really positive effects and half had like no effects, you know, right. Either the wind wasn't hitting the building right. I know there was one fire in Manhattan where the wind was kind of hitting on an angle. So nobody ever grabbed the bottom halyard so that it was bouncing around in the wind and it really didn't have the effect you wanted to have. You got to get someone downstairs to grab those halyards and pull them in and pin it to the building. But the argument with a lot of guys was always, okay, well, we got to bring this at every one of these high-rise, building fires. And the answer is yeah. And the reason is, and this, we thought about this long and hard. If you leave it on the rig, and then you go up, and then you need it. A man's down in the hallway.
It's already too late.
Get it up there in time to make a difference. You won't. So
when did they assign? They assigned them to the squads because I remember there was a chauffeur's job to bring up the blanket. So
that was the blanket because there weren't as many of them. They gave every truck a KO curtain, but only the squads and rescues got the fire blanket.
Yeah, those things are heavy. You complain about the KO curtain?
Exactly. They were very heavy, and they're tough to deploy as well. Just because. When you throw them out, the wind pins it to the wall, and it's hard to move them.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is I again, I'm not knocking it, obviously, because I know, personally, I've seen it where it definitely helped. I'm just saying, like, it's so hard to coordinate, and we got manpower up the ass, and it's hard to to coordinate these things. You know what I mean? So, not to say you don't do it because it's hard to coordinate, but I mean, to get some of these things into operation to save somebody, I mean, what is realistically, is that, do you feel like it's a viable thing there?
So listen, I always want to put water on the fire when I have the opportunity, but you tell me, which one do you think a roofman going to the floor above, right? He doesn't go to the roof, goes to the floor above. Is he going to be in position with a KO curtain because he's bringing it every time, right? Remember, we could talk about first due and second due. We get into all that stuff, all right? But the first due is bringing it, okay? He gets in position. He actually gives you the wind speed read, right? window open, door open, maybe apartment door open. You have to have that, remember, inlet and outlet to really get a true sense of what the wind is doing.
No shit. I didn't even know any of this.
Right. And he needs to get as close to the fire window as possible. So it's really directly above. Okay. Is he going to be in position with a KO curtain ready to go? Or do you think you'd have a high-rise nozzle hooked up on maybe 3 floors below, stretched up into an apartment, bled and ready to go? Which one's going to be quicker?
I'm going with the nozzle.
No, I would go with the nozzle, but the KO curtain is going to be in position
He
much
has
quicker.
it already.
So again, dropping the curtain, getting the door shut to the apartment, getting your person to safety, that's really its tool. And it's
How many
quicker
people
than
does it
getting
take
water
to
on
deploy
fire.
the KO curtain?
I was going to say, it takes more.
2, 4.
No, say again.
How many people does it take to deploy the KO curtain?
2, technically 2.
Where?
One on the floor above and one on the floor below. 2 floors, well, below the fire floor.
Right.
One above the fire floor, one below the fire
below.
floor. Just 2.
And just 2 guys can do it?
Yeah, absolutely. One guy's carrying it by himself. And they have, by the way, now they have a folding model that's a lot smaller than the long one. Right. So they're
So is that written in high rises now? Is that written in high rise that he takes that? That he takes it? It is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. On any high rise fireproof building, the roofman is taking the KO curtain with him every time.
Right. I mean, he's going to the floor above anyway.
Exactly.
Take it.
Right. So you remember, he's doing other things up there too, right?
Yes.
Layout. Is there anybody hanging from windows? There's, he's doing other things up there that are critical in a fire.
Right.
Critical.
But
At
at
the
least it's up there.
fire, the Squad 1 roof guy did an amazing job. He basically painted the picture for him on the fire floor.
Yeah.
And yet it still went sideways. Crazy. So anyway, so that's the KO curtain. And again, we could talk all night long about its effectiveness. Yes, small percentage of time. However, there've been a bunch of fires where guys said no. When Kevin Williams is at a fire in Co-op City, when early on with a fire blanket, remember there was a silverized fire blanket design. And he says it. They're making a push on the interior. They're getting shellacked. And then they dropped it. And it didn't go perfectly well because it was one of the early deployments. But they dropped the fire blanket over the window. And he said the convected currents absolutely stopped. It was still not a pleasant place to be, but it was doable then. And they moved the line in and got water on the fire. Now, just think about it. Kevin Williams' brother died in that scenario. And now Kevin's in it. Incredible. He tells an incredible story about that fire. So, so that's it. So you have the fire blanket for the squads and rescues, and you have the KO curtain for all the truck companies to deploy it over there. So the second thing we were looking at is high-rise nozzles. Mm-hmm. And we looked at about 6 or 7 different styles. So you see it there. That's the one we landed on. That was a electrical conduit, basically. That was bent at a 68-degree bend.
On the floor below.
On the floor below, right? It was called a lot of different things, like the chicken stick, floor below nozzles. Right? Right. And yes, that's funny. That's funny. But this particular device lays flat on the windowsill on the floor below, and you just start flowing water out of it. Everything's the same as a 2.5-inch line, 2.5-inch hose. Nothing changes there. Your pressures don't change.
Chicken stick.
And they tip on the end.
Fucking
all
awesome.
you're looking to do is to bang the water off the ceiling. Okay.
How many of those operations we do a year?
Say again.
You think? How many of those operations do we do a year? You think?
It's been in position at least probably 20 times. Only flowed once.
What?
Yeah, only once. And why is that?
Wow, because it takes time.
Because the KO curtain worked, and the interior line was able to make the position and get water on the fire. And what I talked about before, the time element to get it into play, it never got there quick enough. Now, the one time it was used, all right, Donnie Haid was the rescue battalion chief. It was on Eastern Parkway, 165 Eastern Parkway, right across the street from the Brooklyn Museum. And we have videos of that where you can see the flag at the Brooklyn Museum really flapping in the wind. So it's a really windy night. Billy Ryan was in Squad 1 that night too, so I got a lot of intel from him as well. First two companies get up there, but they can't find the hallway to where the fire room is. Really big apartments, right? You know how the Grand Concourse is in the Bronx. We know how Eastern Parkway is. Like these were luxury apartments in their day. They, 9 rooms, 7 rooms, 12 rooms. They're big apartments. And so this particular one, it was a lot of clutter in there. They couldn't find that hallway, and they're doing circles in there. Now it doesn't matter who the first two companies were, but the first two companies at the after action review. Now I'm there. I went to the building afterwards, looked things over, and we're at the after action review, and they got the high rise nozzle in position, and then they floated, and they knocked the fire down. The KO curtain, they deployed it, but no one ever grabbed the bottom halyards, and it's kind of danced around. So it really didn't seal it off like we would have liked it to. However, the high-rise nozzle flows. They put the fire out, and now at the after-action review, the members are grumbling over that.
That the fire went out.
We could have got it. Blah blah blah. So I go, hold on a second. Scribe, there was somebody there taking notes. Time frames and everything. I go from 1084 of the first two companies to the nozzle flowing. What was the time frame? 45 minutes.
Too long. Yeah.
45 minutes.
So do you think they had a shot at it? Yes, they did. So then one guy says to me, John, you don't understand. It was a big apartment. And I go, my friend, are you first due to this building? Not a good excuse. If it's a relocated company that doesn't understand Eastern Park buildings, I'll give that to you.
You still should have water. You don't have to be putting the fire out, but not after 45 minutes. You got to have water flowing. Right.
Exactly.
Wild.
So that's it. So in all the others, it was in position, but wasn't ever flowed because they got it from the interior, which again is a testament to the FDNY because we are aggressive on the interior. That is what we normally do. Anyway,
what's the difference between that and the cockloft nozzle? Then are they similar and
completely different?
The newest iteration of a high-rise nozzle / cockloft nozzle has the base section because it's in pieces now. The base section is the same for a cockloft nozzle or the high-rise nozzle. You can use a cockloft nozzle to get water in that fire apartment above,
right?
But the high-rise nozzle with that bend is much more efficient.
I hear them using the cockloft nozzle quite often now. I mean, when I'm listening to the radio, they use it a lot.
No, it's again, it ain't rocket science.
No,
it shoots water 60 feet in each direction, in a space that what do you got to have a guy, and you did it. You guys have probably done it. You stand up on a table or a refrigerator. You get
Stick
your head
the line in the fucking
like this. But that's stupid to do when you have
to burn your head off.
Stand down here and go like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have to understand too, in a cockloft, there's so much heat up there throughout the whole cockloft, right? That even if the fire's to my right that way, and I'm flowing water that way, I'm also flowing water opposite to cool all the other area that we're not getting water at if we're using a regular nozzle. It's spectacular. There it is. It's great.
Yeah.
Spot.
Can you see that, guys?
Really well.
Mm-hmm.
Now
it's right in the middle of the picture. It's kind of weird. Sorry, I didn't know it was going to look like that.
So we tested the cockloft nozzle at Governor's Island. I don't know that. We got addicts going in those townhouses, and then from one unit up through the first floor, the top floor, and just went like this, and it knocked the fire out like that. The other thing that the cockloft nozzle is even better used from is from the roof down. Because in a lot of buildings, you can have multiple ceilings. It's just you're underneath, you're pulling this fire. If you're on a roof, you cut a small hole and stick it in there and go like this down.
If you got a rain roof or something, a double roof or something like that?
It could be, but you'll know that once you cut through it. And you'll know when you're up there on that.
Who carries that? Every engine has that?
It was one engine in every battalion, but I think they've expanded that now. So I think every engine, when they get a new rig, I think it's part of the package of the tools. So I think almost every engine has it now. But understand something. We looked at like 6 different nozzles. One was the Eagle nozzle that kind of hung with a hook on the windowsill with a fog nozzle. We looked at Davy Williams made a nozzle for us. and we use that one. But you have to also remember something too. You go back to the 70s, John O'Hagan, when he was chief of the department and commissioner at the same time, they developed for commercial fires a really big nozzle that you set up on the floor below and swung it out up into the window above. As well as there was a thing. Have you ever heard the Lorenzo ladder?
I have heard that. I don't know what is it.
The Lorenzo ladder. I knew 226 carried one. The Lorenzo ladder was another member on our job, firefighter Lorenzo, that developed it. It was basically like a small portion of ladder, portable ladder, that you would brace in a window and be able to put a multiversal ladder pipe on the end, but facing backwards and shoot water up. So all these ideas are not new. They've been developed before, but then got, like you kind of said, Louis, we don't use them a lot. Then they get forgotten.
Right.
And that's a shame. They should not be forgotten. They should always, just like a Breslin distributor.
It's used to keep the office door open. That's it.
It's like a disco ball.
It is. It is like a disco ball. It is the high-rise nozzle made by Elkhart now. And it's spectacular. But you got to remember, our R&D department, Paul Robertson is the one that made the original. Our people made it. And because it laid on the windowsill and angled up at the floor above, it was the simplest of designs. You weren't hanging out the window. You didn't have to tie anybody off with ropes where they're going to fall out and stuff like that. So that's where Governor's Island came in, that we were able to go through a bunch of the nozzles and figure out which one's best for the FDNY. All right.
I like it.
So yeah, just incredible amount of time and effort went into all that. The other thing we looked at was fans. Again, I didn't even know what a positive pressure fan was before, but out there we tested it up against fires, and guess what? Just like it did in Chicago, it works really, really well. All right.
That's just to keep the hallway clear. Right?
It's really just to get keep the stairwell clear.
Right.
But keep in mind, it does not push back a wind impacted fire. But even with some door control, you're going to keep the smoke out of the stairwell. And that's what we're looking to do, to stage for us. Or if a member gets in trouble on the fire floor, we can get him into that stairwell that's not contaminated with smoke. If there's a negative stack effect or something crazy going on, right? At least it's a safe haven for us. And any civilians coming from the floors above, coming down, we don't want them to use that stairwell, but they don't know.
That's a huge change, right? We do that. Do the guys use the fans like a lot now? Do they?
Here's the problem. When you have an aggressive fire service, and what is
somebody's opening a door somewhere.
Well, I'm just saying, probably the wrong word, but what's the sexiest position on the fire floor? Probably the nozzle.
The irons.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, depends on your mentality, but you're right. No, it would be the members on the inside doing it.
Right.
How do you make setting a fan up cool?
You call in a special fan truck. That's the only job they have.
So guess what? We looked at all the first due companies. Can we put a fan on here? Now they have a box fan, and the box fan can work, but the box fan doesn't have the CFM nor the pressure that the fans that we researched for this project properly, right? It just doesn't have it. So that being said, you also have to understand a positive pressure fan. If you drop it off a rig, it's broken.
I've seen that many times.
Yeah, he's not going to drop it off the rig.
Truckies are not the gentlest of creatures out there. So what we did, what you just said, Kevin, we developed ventilation support units.
Yeah.
25 truck companies around the city that were all going to have this piece of equipment with two 27-inch gas-powered fans and one electric fan and some smoke blockers and stuff like that. And they would go immediately on a 1077. Now, when George and I taught these companies, this is what we basically told them. You're going to this fire way earlier than you would ever go normally.
You have to sell it, man. Come on.
It'd have to be a fifth alarm before you guys are going.
Yeah.
So guess what? When you get there, if you want to pressurize the attack stairwell first,
and now you go to work
to How many? Okay, we'll go like this.
2.
For argument's sake, we'll say 2.
2.
Just so when they take it out of the rig, they don't blow their backs out because they are kind of heavy. 2 guys.
Now you got 4 standing around.
When you're walking up to a high-rise fire and you're listening to audio transmissions, can you kind of get a sense if things are going good or bad?
Sure.
Absolutely.
If they're not going good, the officer in 3, you go to the incident commander and say, Chief, I got 4 guys. What do you need done? Okay?
There you go.
That's the selling point. And you'll still get a job. Now, I'll give you a story that I personally witnessed. The Matt and Bellis fire. Brooklyn, 1077, right in Williamsburg there. Rescue 2 is 30 seconds ahead of Squad 252. Okay, they're going into the building. Rescue 2 starts up. Remember the elevators were wonky? Remember like one was working and one was in Sabbath? And, and if you don't know what the Sabbath operation is, it's, you can't touch a button and the elevator just takes people up and down the building. So I'm in the lobby and there's no Mayday yet. Things are going pretty good. Guy's on the floor above. He's giving them a layout. It's working pretty good. And then the Mayday comes in. And I turn to the chief and I'm like, Chief, get the high-rise nozzle ready, get a KO curtain ready, I said, and get the stairwell pressurized. And off we went. I got to the 19th floor. 105 truck heard the box come in, got the good truck company, got on the road early. They were there. I looked at the time frame. From them leaving the firehouse and getting 1084, 6.5 minutes. Pretty damn good. Really good. They got the stairwell pressurized. I'm on the 19th floor. That's where the fire was, with the 20-story building. And the smoke is filling the stairwell, the hallway, coming into the stairwell. It's a mess. And the officer in 105 says, stairwell pressurized. When he said that, the smoke on the fire floor did a tumble out of the stairwell into the hallway. And I stood in the hallway, and the smoke was going like this into the hallway. And within a couple of minutes, Rich Wiley was in the rescue battalion, did a great job, and found Matt and Bellis. Now, I can tell you, we probably would have found Matt eventually anyway. But Richie did a great job, and the pressurization cleared that apartment so quickly, they found their man. Now, I told the safety command all about that and never made the report, but I witnessed it. It works that well. And I remember coming down out of that building and going right over to 105 and saying, you guys did an amazing job. You cleared the smoke in seconds. Now, to get back to how often does it get used, it's very challenging to get it there quickly and to get the stairwells pressurized. On occasion, it gets done and it clears things very rapidly, but it doesn't get utilized nearly as much as it should.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. That job in the Bronx that Frankie Lieb had, where all those people died in the stairwell.
I'm glad you brought that up. One fan would have cleared that stairwell. Now, you got to remember, these are gas-powered fans. Mm-hmm. They create carbon monoxide. In all of our testing, we never exceeded like 80 parts per million, maybe 90 parts per million. That's about it. When I'm in overhaul, what's the CO readings in a flat, in a regular fire? What do you think they are? Well, let's say, for argument's sake, 500.
Right.
We put the fire out. We're overhauling. All right. And no one complains about that. But God forbid there's 50 parts per million in the building because of a fan. Guys, shut that fan off. What are you, crazy? Okay, now, ready for this? When the fire in Twin Parks, the duplex is going, right? The lower window of the bedroom's open. The door to the apartment is open, right? That was a low intake, high exhaust fire. Chugging, ugly black smoke. You've seen the videos. In that public hallway, into the attack stairwell, and 17 people died in that stairwell. Okay. What do you think the CO reading in that stairwell was? Now, I didn't have a meter. There's no way for me to measure it. But just take a guess. What do you think they were?
2,000.
Louis?
10,000.
Tank?
I'll split the difference and go 6.
Very good. I like that. That's good. Good. Louis? Very good. 10 to 40,000. How do I know that?
Because you get 17 dead people. That's
Right. Right. Part of it.
Yeah, but they could die at 5,000.
Yeah. Right.
Ready?
Yeah.
Because when UL does their testing and they have a similar space on fire and they're measuring everything, guess what numbers they come up with? 10,000 to 40,000. Are you now worried about 70 parts per million of a gas-powered fan? Absolutely not.
No.
That fan, if it had gotten in position and operated, would have done a couple things. It would have cleared the attack stairwell. And yes, it might have pushed smoke some places through some cracks and doors and things, but that smoke was going everywhere in that building at that point. But as I told you before with Galvin, with the door open on the fire floor, it would have pushed the smoke down the hallway and it would have probably split the difference. Some would have went out the apartment across the hall where they made grabs, and some would have went into the fire apartment. But my point is, it would have done a spectacular job. Unfortunately, that unit that was sent to do that was then tasked by the chief at hand to get to the roof with a rope, that's the chief's call. God bless him. Okay. He has to make very difficult tactical decisions. But what I said to you before is also true. I could send an officer and 3 to the roof with a rope and effect a rope rescue, and I could have still pressurized that stairwell. That's all I'm getting at. It works really, really well. So that's it. So that's the VIN support units. And that takes they got to be kept up training. I think some of that kind of slacked off a little bit. The high-rise symposium that's coming up in I believe it's in October. You guys familiar with that?
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to do a whole class on a hands-on and a classroom session on stairwell pressurization. George Healy and I teach it. It's really
so
really
that's got to be happening a lot. I don't. Did we touch on that? I mean, that's happening a lot, right? The guys are pressurizing. Like that's got to be happening every week. No, I mean, there's a high-rise fire every week.
Yeah, but there are many times. I listen. I've been to so many fires where I'll go down to the chief and say, Chief, nothing for nothing. There's a lot of smoke upstairs. I would get the vent support unit to blow that smoke out of you. They don't implement it a lot. They think they think they're wasting that precious time. I disagree.
Well, in Manhattan, you get 2 high-rise units, 39 engine and
Correct.
I forget.
Yes.
Why not make that part of their duties? They're going with
it already was and has been. However, if you know anything about the high-rise units at all?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, they have extra mass. Right, yeah. Extra
What else
bottles,
what else they put on there? Lights, radios,
lights, yeah.
the rail carts, right? So the chiefs through the years, what have happened is, they're like, oh, we got these rail carts. Where are we going to put them? Oh, you know what? Put them on a high-rise unit. You can't do that. You got to dedicate them to one specific job when they get there. And it really should be stairwell pressurization. Or whatever job you give them at a high-rise, make sure there's vent support units coming to do the stairwell pressurization. That's all. You can call whatever you want. A chief can call it.
They're going with 2 pieces and a whole company. So why couldn't they do both?
You can.
Right.
If I had a Walmart on fire, I'm calling the high-rise unit and 2 vent support units, because if I get all 6 of their fans, I'm going to have somewhere in the 175,000 CFMs to push into that building.
I, in fact, did not have that on my Walmart fire.
What's that?
I, in fact, did not have that on my Walmart fire. Yeah. Just a couple years ago.
Was it a shed outside of Walmart? Was it a shed outside of Walmart? Or was
it was the Walmart, the actual building.
It wasn't like a food cart out front of Walmart. Was it like a hot dog stand?
Dispatch confirmed it was the actual building. I have it on recording.
I saw it. I saw pictures. I'm just busting the balls.
Right. So
I know, it's good.
So that was the 3 main things that we did there, right? Stairwell pressurization, the high-rise nozzle, and like I said before, we tested a whole bunch of nozzles to whittle it down to what we ended up with, and then a wind control device of some sort, But it was an amazing experience, and like so many people had a hand in it. Some of the funniest stories that happened was, guy shows up with you ever see those aerosol Fit 5? The Fit 5?
No, what is that?
Fit 5 is a aerosol device that, like, if there's room on fire, you pull a pin, you throw it in the window, it goes psh, and it puts the fire out.
I have seen that. That's like in Europe. In Europe, they use that, I think, right?
So a guy shows up with one, and so Jerry Tracy says to him, yeah, that's nice. You got to demo one for it. The guy said, oh, this thing's like $5,000. He goes, you don't demo it. We're not even going to look at it. So in the middle of the parking lot, he pulls the pin, and this thing aerosolizes and everything. Oh, that's nice. Okay. We'll try it up against the fire. So Craig Silvino, remember Craig?
Yeah.
Craig, great.
He was on the show too.
Oh, Craig's great. He's awesome. And Craig's there. So he goes, we'll figure this out. So from the floor above, they tie a rope to it. Okay. And the idea is we'll let the room go to flashover, and then Craig will throw it out. It's going to swing down into the room, and then he lets go of the rope at the right time. It goes into the room, and we'll test to see what the thing does. All right. So,
what could go wrong?
So what could go wrong? So the whole crowd, Chief Casano's out there. We got media. I think there's like politicians. They're all lined up, nicely looking at the building like this, and Craig like, all right, ready? All right, 3, 2, 1. We're going to flash over. All right, Craig, let him rip, and he pulls the pin, throws the thing out. It goes out, it swings out, and it clips the bottom of the windowsill. So the rope breaks. It drops to the floor. And so you see everyone's like this. They're like,
oh.
and then the thing goes, and it aerosolizes, and this huge cloud of like oxygen depleting smoke drifts forward. Wow, you see them running for cover there.
Dude, that is so typical. You couldn't even. I mean, that's so typical, right? This is why everybody has doubt, because you can't even do it in a fucking drill. Like, how are you going to do any of this shit?
Why not just throw it in the second floor window? Why do you?
It was comical.
That's
Comical
hilarious.
went on, and so, so that was that. Bunch of other funny things happened, but it was all, everything went really well. And then you have to get to, after you learn all this stuff, you got to get to rewriting the book. People don't realize how much work goes into each thing. Like I wrote the stairwell pressurization. I help with the high rise nozzles and everything. And just real collective. You got to do a training bulletin. You got to do an equipment bulletin, all that stuff. So anyway, that all gets done, right? And think about it. As we were getting ready out there, what happens? John Martinson fire. That was right before we were about to do all this stuff. So right there you have this situation where there's a member who again. And now, was that wind impacted? That's really where the terminology wind driven. That's where the terminology wind impacted came from Joe Cunningham. He's like, they're not always going to be that ramming, but that fire really crazy. The way Tommy Richardson was the incident commander there, by the way. He gives a great heads up. He goes, hey, fellas, just be aware the wind's really kicking up down here. And he's in the lobby. He's downstairs. To me, what more can a deputy chief do other than you can't hold firemen's hands? You got to trust them up there. You got to, trust what they're doing. But he gave him a heads up. The wind did a really crazy thing at that fire. It swung around from southwest to northwest in about a 15-minute period. And if you knew you remember the Polo Ground, the Ebbets Field house, right on what's the main road there? Bedford, right on Bedford.
Right.
They kind of the legs face west. So the wind coming in from the southwest isn't going to affect the fire department where John Martinson is. It swings around in 15 minutes and heads right into that corner where he was, and he got hit with some heat, and he dropped, and that was it. He never regained. So just amazing. There's so many things like that happen that kind of bolster the need for the research.
Right.
So while we're out there, we're taking the ferry back and forth. We're seeing on the other side of the island, that picture we showed before, the dog bone high-rise buildings were on one side, but on the other side are these townhouses. And I'm like, man, we can't let them rip these down without doing some research here. And George Healy and I, we hounded Chief Galvin for 3 years. And he wanted to do it, but again, where you getting the money? You got to have money for all this, And after 3 years, they scraped up enough money, and now we're going to do it again. And that's the second Governor's Island research that was done. Again, we kind of had a playbook because we had just done it. We knew how we could control the ferry. We knew to get IMT involved and blah, blah, blah. And now what are we going to look at now? Right. So that's what this is here. Exactly. Right. And here's NISTA's involved as well. Look at these. These are the row houses, the row homes. Okay. Look at them. They're like pristine. And this is where the Coast Guard had their people in. And if you look at the interior, right, you'll see they're nicely furnished. And that furnishing that was brought in there, we actually had a probie class carry all that equipment into the into the structure, whatever rooms we were gonna burn. So what I talked to you before about on maybe the second day we're out there, one of the chief's drivers, a chief's aide, gets injured. So our clean record for the first round got shot
and he got 3/4.
And exactly, I wanted to kill the guy, but anyway, whatever. It was what it was. But so now so what are we gonna do out there now? Let's go back to the high-rise nozzle. Not you don't have to go to the picture, but just think about this. I'm on the safety line for most of these fires. And when we were going to do the first flowing of the high-rise nozzle, I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome, because we're going to see fireballs in the hallway as we push this fire throughout the whole structure, right? As soon as that water hits the ceiling, 60 feet away in the public hallway, flame is out. Temperatures are nosediving. Okay, maybe that was an anomaly. Let's try it again. And every time we tried it, guess what happened?
Fire went up.
That ceiling, put the fire out here. Everything downstream got better. Now what? That's what led to some of the things we want to look at Governor's Island too. Mainly, we get a railroad flat. And we move in on one door, the railroad flat doesn't come out the other door. Now, I've been to fires where that's happened, right? We move in, whip it around, comes around, all right? Well, these didn't have railroad flats. We built the railroad flat. We had built the wall with doors, made it look like a railroad flat. Interior walls with one doorway to get through, all furnished and everything. And we looked at moving in aggressive on the interior. Am I going to push it out the other door? And then we did exterior streams hitting ceilings above, and to see what that's going to do. And so what's the next slide you got there? So this is one of the things we were looking at were basement fires. Okay, so first line goes in the front door, and it's going to protect the interior stairs, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what we did in the first fire was we set it up, and we had an interior line positioned behind the wall that was going to shoot water down those interior stairs, creating like a fire curtain, a water curtain to stop anything coming up those interior stairs. We were not putting water on the fire in the basement, right? And we let it burn. And if you can look at the temperatures here, right? The temperatures as we flowed the line, the top of the stairs went from 600 to 400. 600 to 400, you're not surviving either of those temperatures.
No.
Right? In the basement, you have increasing temperatures because you're not putting water on the fire. In the rear of the basement, increasing temperatures, 1200 to 1500. All right? Upstairs, open bedroom, 225 to 210. Really no change there whatsoever. Closed bedroom behind a door, no change, because behind a closed door, you're not getting any change. So we flowed it for roughly a minute, something to that effect, and we measured all of this. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so now what's the next scenario going to be? This one should be a video, right, of the townhouse. and we're going to flow water, and I'll show you, I'll talk it through. So we have a fire ripping in the basement. No, it's not that one. Go to that one. That's it. So now you see the smoke coming out that front door. Notice the smoke floor to ceiling. And then we're going to flow a line.
I like to call that dirty smoke.
It is, sure. But see, look at the line coming in from the left now. See it? The line moves in, and we're putting water in the window. And this nozzleman could use a little training because all of a sudden he kneels down and goes, whoa. There you go. Get it back in there, bro. So he flows the water in the window. Notice the smoke changing at the front door. Notice the thermal imaging view there, right? There was no ball of fire that came up the interior stairs at all. All right. And he's even whipping it around a little bit there. So remember, okay, now let's look at our temperature changes. Next slide. Should be a similar slide, but different outcomes of the graphics. There you go. Now look what happened. Look at the basement, 1,200 to 400, 1,700 to 300, 800 to 300 in the rear of the basement. Now let's look upstairs. We're going from 600 to 200. 200 is still not nice, but it's definitely better than what our interior line did in protecting those interior stairs. Okay, so that's what we came away with this, is that when you have a basement fire, right, and it's ventilated, and it's really chugging up those interior stairs, that line that you put at the top of the stairs, one, is probably not going to be able to get down the interior stairs. There's too much convective current. And two, positioning it there is not really doing anything for the rest of the building. But when I put water in the window or Bilko door, or if I have an entrance to the basement, that's where we want that line to go, right? Is to get water on the main body of fire in the quickest way possible so that we can get maybe that basement door shut and we can search the rest of that structure. So that was the takeaway on the basement fire scenario.
That changed, right? I mean, that changed.
Yeah.
What
that helped big time change was, ready? Who remembers what was written in our books about brownstone fires? Where'd the first line have to go? Fires on the first floor under the stoop.
Parlor floor.
What's that?
Parlor floor.
Why? Yeah, why?
Protect the stairs.
The interior stairs.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, in our research, where that went back to was O'Hagan's the commissioner chief of the department. There's a fire in a brownstone. A company takes a line under the stoop, and a truck company did get burned on the parlor floor. Okay. And he said they pushed the fire up the interior stairs. We will never do that again. And so that's why the line has to go up top. But now think about it. A line has to go up the parlor stairs.
Down those stairs.
Down those stairs.
Three sets of stairs.
Make another turn.
Right.
And go fight the fire. Now, right. No, it just doesn't make sense. Now, are there times you can do that? Yeah, I'm sure you can. If you have a really good company, if you don't over ventilate that lower level, maybe. But if a truck is trying to go under the stoop and there's fire blowing out the window right next to them, what are we going to do with a line?
Stick it in there for 10 seconds.
You're going to knock the fire down in that window. So what that research showed us was, you know what? We're going to change the books. That first line, if the fire's on the first floor, it's going under the stoop and put the fire out, because when the line goes inside, it effectively is cutting the fire off from those interior stairs. They control fire on the stairs and then go put the main body of fire out. That's where the research.
And you're on the level already. You're already on the level.
Exactly. So the blue line is going under the stoop and putting the fire out, and the red line is going up the stoop to the rear, down the interior. Then you have to make another turn to go put that fire out in that lower level. So that was the beauty of
and wasn't there? It was something where they said you could put the line in the window for a short stint, right? If I remember, I mean, that was like right at the end when I was leaving.
That's more like on private dwellings.
All right.
More like on the private dwellings. Not the brownstone specifically, was that line had to go up to the parlor floor.
Right.
So we were able to change that.
That's still a hard sell to the guys, though. The guys still bitch and moan about, even on a private dwelling, you stick it in the window and give it a quick douche.
Give it a
guys
quick
still
hit.
are resistant to it, man.
It's still a resistance, right?
Yeah.
So remember that there were certain companies that were utilizing a fog tip as their attack line, maybe 214, 217, right? So a lot of people would say, like, what the hell are those guys doing? You know why they did that? First of all, by the way, in the war years, there was a lot of combination nozzles on engine companies. A lot. Not a little, a lot. Why do you think they did that? So on an inch and three-quarter solid bore nozzle, your operating pressure is 50 psi. On the combination nozzle, it's 100 psi. Okay? That extra psi popped the kinks out. And they thought, because they were fighting a lot of brownstone fires, that was better than having kinks in the line. Guess what? They were not wrong. You know, we're lucky that they were smart and savvy in using. Now, I personally think you should just have your people chasing kinks better. You know what I mean? And don't let the hose kink. But that was the way they were combating that kinking. And they weren't wrong. That extra 50 psi allowed them to do that. So to me, that makes sense. And I right now, though, I don't think anyone's doing that anymore. I think they've all gone to solid bore nozzle.
Ruff, did you see what the captain just let out?
Another nugget.
Little nugget. He
little chicken nuggets.
Little nugget. He just laid out there.
All right. So now go to that other video. So you have a video of the exterior stream. Right. So here you have the townhouses going good. We're going to see the thermal imaging of that wind window. There's the flow of the line. They even move it around a little bit, which is not ideal. Just keep it steady. Goes in that window. Short duration. Maybe they go 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. Shut it down. When we did that, we never saw any type of pushing fire or anything. On all the experiments that we did, things just got better. And you got to remember, too, in some of these situations, you had I think that the last one should be the layout of the interior of the townhouses. Right there, you can see as we built the railroad flat. So when that water application came through that window, and you have to remember, in this particular fire, we started the fire in the middle room. We let it transition towards the kitchen, and we were monitoring temperatures everywhere. And as you can see, the fire room, or the kitchen, I should say, 1400 to 200. The middle room, 600 to 300. And the rear room, 500 to 300. Not a spike in temperature. It never wrapped out of that other. So, again, I've been in that situation where I've seen that fire come around. So what do you think was happening? What we came to learn, and this is where we might have failed, the research, in the sense that we were doing this for the New York City Fire Department. So that meant everything we were doing was going to be with our equipment, right? So our equipment was a solid bore nozzle. We probably did 1 or 2 experiments with a fog nozzle on a 30-degree fan pattern just to see what would happen, because that was done at later experiments. There's some guys are doing killer flashover and whatnot down south in Kentucky and whatnot, and UL was involved. So they played with some combination nozzles. And what they found there was, if you put a fog nozzle, 30-degree fog, and you cover a window, you're moving so much air into that space, some water, but so much air, that you can potentially move things opposite that could make a negative. So what we came up with was kind of what you saw in that video, was the 4 S's, right? Steep angle, solid bore, right? Solid bore hit the ceiling, and it opens up a sprinkler in that room. All right. So that's what we're teaching the FDNY members. You don't have to whip it around. You don't have to do anything. Keep it steady, straight, solid, sprinkler. Those are your 4 S's. And
no more turning, no more whipping.
Not when you're doing it next to the stream. Not when you're doing that.
Yeah.
When you're inside and you want to create a pressure front in front of you.
Right, I got you.
It's away from you. That's when you do it. But for exterior streams, we don't want that. We actually want to keep that window as a vent point, So as things convert in that room, it all goes out the vent point. Now, steam. Let's talk about steam. What temperature is steam?
Boiling water, ain't it?
212.
Yeah. 212. Very good. Now, boiling water is 212, and the steam above it is 212. However, the steam above it, because there's an increase in energy to go from the liquid to the gas, that there's 10 times the energy in steam. Can steam burn you? Yes,
Yeah.
it can.
Hell yeah.
However, live steam is very, or shall we say, when I hear members of our department or anywhere else talk about superheated gases, it's a bad terminology. Superheated steam is very different than regular steam. Superheated steam is when it's in a vessel, it's pressurized, and they add more energy. That's what a locomotive uses to move an engine, right? That's a totally different creature. That doesn't happen on the fire ground. It's 212, but there's energy there. But what no one brings into effect, when I do an exterior stream or really an attack on the inside, aggressive on the inside, do I create some steam?
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
But guess what we were never taught about? Contraction. When we heat something up, what does it do?
Expands.
Expands.
The air right now that we're breathing is what percentage of oxygen?
21.
21-ish.
Right? What's the rest of the gas? What's the largest volume of gas there?
Nitrogen, right? Yeah.
So you have nitrogen, oxygen, and some other little gases. But anyway, all of that gas, when it's warmed up to 1200 degrees, 1500 degrees, into flashover and everything, is all expanding. When we inject the water, either exterior or interior, you're getting a cooling effect as that conversion happens, and there's a massive contraction of the gases. If the victims are pinned at the ceiling, I'd be concerned with steam. But where are they pinned?
On the
On the
floor.
floor.
They're on the floor. It never gets to them. And in fact, let me another one by it.
I only learned about a triangle. That's it.
Tetrahedron.
Right.
You're 100% right. That's our failure in the sense. Exactly. Now, when we showed you that fire video before, or the ones that smoke that was coming out that roof you showed before, right? Is that extremely dry smoke or humid smoke? What do you think?
Which one?
I would say
I'd
dry.
say dry. Yeah.
Guess what? You know why? When a car goes down the road in the wintertime and there's combustion happening in an internal combustion engine, it's not a Tesla. What's coming out the tailpipe?
CO.
Steam.
And what's
Water.
the steam we see? Why is there steam?
Water, right?
Combustion creates water. That column of smoke that we think is dry is not. It's actually extremely humid. And in fact, when you inject water into that hot steam and you convert and make more steam, it actually hits a point where the air is just can't take any more moisture and it drops out. Right, that right there. That's extremely humid smoke. Have you, Louis?
Just for the record, there ain't a window taken.
Have you guys ever been like that ugly black smoke? Like tremendous moisture in there.
Love it. I love it.
Have you been to a project fire where when you're remote from the fire area, what do you see on the walls? Those cement walls, the black dripping
Stains.
Right? That's the humidity coming out of the smoke. Because
could have used these things about 30 years ago.
In a project, it doesn't happen in other buildings so much, but in projects that exterior wall's cold, it hits it, condenses, and starts running down. So my point is, when we inject the water, either externally or internally, we're creating steam, but we only hit a certain point of moisture, and the victims that we haven't found yet are much better off because you took the thermal threat of the fire away. And yes, you might hit them with some hot water, but I'll take hot water any day of the week over an unchecked fire that is a huge thermal threat to that victim. Never mind all the other toxic smoke it's making as well. So that's
Is that are the guys learning this stuff now? Are they learning all this stuff now?
when you put this all together, that's
Yeah.
why the interior stream. But again, the aggressive interior stream is also effective. Now, they did another study later on where they put a victim right outside a bedroom, okay, and they
Get some
did
water.
fire from the exterior.
I'll be right
Does
back.
that victim get hit with some products of combustion? Yes, they do. Do they get hit with some hot water? Yes, they
Sure.
do. However, now think about the line passing that window on fire, making entry into a building, making a left-hand turn, and fighting down a hallway, right? Whipping the nozzle around, pushing down the hallway, pushing the fire back into that room,
On them.
and that victim right outside that bedroom, what do you think they get hit with?
Superheated gases.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
The difference being the exterior stream that you passed or the fire window you passed and you put water in the window, you took the thermal threat away from them a minute and a half earlier than you could have. Is a minute and a half a long time for a victim getting hit with heat?
Hell yeah.
Your ass it is. You bet your ass it is. So again, I'm not saying that we should be doing that at every fire all the time whenever we can. Absolutely not. But it should be a tool
In the toolbox, baby.
when it's appropriate. Okay.
How long do you
That's
suggest
what we
they
learned at Governor's Island.
how long do you suggest they hit it for? 15, 20 seconds? Like what?
So what we said in the books was hit it as long as you see the fire condition change. Okay. And the reason was we didn't want to nail down a time frame, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. What I can tell you though, a standard bedroom, 12 by 12, something to that effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
10 seconds of water from an 1 3/4 line, right, flowing 188, 160, 150 gallons per minute is going to knock the fire down in about 10 seconds. That's it. So it's really somewhere in that ballpark, right? Now, you still got to get the line inside and finish it off because you may not get the closet, you may not get under the bed, you may not, we're not saying at all. We're just saying the mindset that everyone in the nation, in my opinion, needs to change. I want to have a tool to do whatever's best for them. The people we haven't found yet, we haven't got to yet, and we don't know where they are right now. That's what we need to do. And if that means the interior line getting in there quickly and protecting wherever they are and putting more on the fire is the best thing, bingo, do it. But if that 10 seconds in the window while the truck is forcing the door is better for them, and we're telling you it is now, when I came on a job, I thought that was worse for them. I thought I was hurting them. And we don't do that. We're firefighters. We leave that firehouse, that red door goes up and we're out on that road. We do everything to help people, regardless of what it is. And we would never want to do anything to hurt someone. And what this research taught us was, no, there are times that tool is extremely effective. When I taught out at Joey D's event years ago, in the second year they had it out there, and I showed a bunch of pictures of in the war years, they're going up fire escapes to knock fires down, in tenements. Is that an exterior stream? Sure it is. It's from the fire escape.
Yeah.
And Joey D, Chief D Bernardo said to me afterwards, "Hey John, when did we stop going up fire escapes?" And I'm like, "Oh, Chief, you tell me." He goes, "We did it all the time. If we popped the door and it was hellacious on the other side, we'd be like, holy Jesus." They'd shut the door and say, "Joey, you got it from below." And they would go to the apartment below, maybe the backup line, would go out, go up the fire escape, knock the fire down, maybe the window off the fire escape, then maybe the window on the fire escape. Then they would do two things. They either climb in the window and finish it off, sticking it to the first engine, or they would then say, "All right, fellas, you got it."
Right.
And then they would pop the door, go in and put the fire out.
Either way, it's making conditions better for yourself. I mean, we talk about the victims. Conditions are better for yourself then, and you're not getting your balls kicked in.
Correct. But again, it can't be done willy-nilly. It can't be done uncoordinated. It can't be done when you want to do it. No, everyone's got to know what we're doing. Just like when an OV is venting opposite the line, that should be a transmission. I'm taking the glass. So that everyone knows what is happening where they can't see, So that and listen, guys have said this to me, John, it gives license for cowards or something to that effect. And I'm like, listen, I get that. I get it. However, we'll deal with that in your critique after the fire. Why did you do that when you just go in and put the fire out?
Right.
Why would you do that here? Or another one would be, for instance, there was a fire a number of years ago. A couple members of this job got driven off the job when the cornice came down on them. You remember that? Brownstone fire. They're on the stoop.
On the stoop. Yep, I remember that.
On the inside, they couldn't get in quick enough to get up to I think the fire was on maybe the third and fourth floor, blowing out the window and hitting the cornice. And that fire is blowing out for minutes upon minutes. And no one thought that sooner or later that cornice is going to come down. The cornice is 100 years old. It's been sitting up there for 100 years.
Yeah.
And it drove our people off the job. It fucking ruined their lives. Excuse my French. It ruined their lives. That would have been a perfect time to say, you know what? We're having a problem getting up there. Just knock this fire down. Maintain the integrity until we can get up there. But again, if it's not in your wheelhouse, if it's not in your tool bag, you're never going to do it.
Well, you know what? We were talking about collapse last week. We had the collapse show with Norman, Hash, and Hank. And I said the best thing they could have done was send the chiefs to the collapse schools and all that other stuff. This is the stuff that you guys got to be teaching the chiefs so they know that they have it. I mean, you got to teach, the first line guys too, but the chiefs got to know that they have this at their disposal to use.
So the boot camp, which the next one is the 13th and 14th, that's a Monday, Tuesday of September, is going to be the next boot camp. 2 days. There's a lot of chiefs in the class, so they're all getting this.
Good.
They have the at the Rock. There's the water mapping prop. It looks like a room and a hallway. It's got plexiglass halfway up. That's where you can actually see what a stream does, where the water goes, and you'd be surprised when you shoot water in, even off the ceiling from the interior or the exterior. It really doesn't open up a sprinkler head like we think it does. It really just runs the walls, drops down to the floor, and sits there. So when UL measures everything, when you knock a fire down, right, in a room, let's say you're flowing 188 gallons a minute, right, and you flow the line for a minute, you know what percentage of water actually puts the fire out?
15%.
It's even lower than that. It's very little. It's very, very little. Yeah. Wow. It's very little. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, you know what you could put out with a can. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, by the way,
if you still have your can, it's not bouncing down the hallway for sure.
Right.
So, Governor's Island,
Crazy Lieutenant.
At Governor's Island 2, we tested the water can. Now, why would we do that? We just wanted to make sure everything we're doing still applies. So I was on the can. I was the can man. And we got a small bedroom going good. We went up, knocked the fire down, retreated. Didn't close the door. That fire comes back to life within 30 seconds or more. A little bit more maybe, right? Number 2, we went up, knocked the fire down, closed the door, right? It allowed us to get close enough to close the door. Amazing effect. Again, that's not rocket science, but we captured that all. There's YouTube videos on that. We captured it all just to make sure we're doing the right thing. R&D shows up one day, Governor's Island 2, with a water bazooka. 2 cylinders. One is water on your back. One is high compression air. And you got this you look like Ghostbusters. You had this gun like this, right? Made in Germany. And they're going to test it. So the member from R&D brings it. And I'm like, no problem. I'll put it on. But no. I got to do this.
Oh.
Ooh,
Okay.
sorry.
Qualified. All right. Yeah.
So we get the room going. Puts this thing on. We go up the stairs. I'm right next to him, So now he's kind of fiddling with the device or whatever. And I'm like, okay.
Let's go.
Whenever you're ready.
Whenever
Whenever you're ready, fuckface.
And with that,
At your discretion, bud.
gets it lined up. Doof, right? Bounces off the wall. Over here. Boom. Puts a dent in the wall from the cylinders on his back, right? The fire laughs at it. So I'm like, I give it another shot, Doof. It goes off the wall again. Give it a third shot. Doof. And what it did is it shot an atomized amount of water vapor at the fires. It did nothing.
So then the job went and bought.
Job
went and bought 100 of them.
No, they already had 100 of them.
Yeah.
They bought 100 of them.
So. No, they didn't. But I did years later see what I believe to be the dream job of a retired firefighter, and I'll be the guy doing it. In New Zealand, for wildland fires, they got a guy on a motocross, enduro bike with this device on his back, and he goes up into the hills and finds little pockets of fire. Doof, doof, doof.
That's pretty cool.
So there's a play, but again, that's the beauty of the FDNY. We're going to try whatever's out there, and we'll be the ones that determine whether or not that it works or not. All right. So really, 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 really interesting stuff. So again, we've talked about it before. We tested the cock-off nozzle there, worked brilliantly well. The other crazy thing we did was we took a row of the townhouses. I think there were 5 or 6 units, in a group, but there was a common attic space up there, right? So we got a fire going on one end in the attic, let it rip, got it going good. And then like 3 units down, we took a fan and we pressurized the front door. So we pressurized one whole townhouse, okay? Fire in the attic was coming across. Once we pressurized, what do you think the fire did?
Stopped.
Would not pass the pressurization. Completely like sealed it off. And it worked. Now, where can we apply that? And have we ever? We have not. But I personally think when you get a row of taxpayers going, you get that vent support unit, pick a spot down, pick a couple occupancies that aren't affected yet, pressurize it, and stop the fire from coming your way, and deal with the rest of it down there. Now, granted, you're pushing air into a building, which that could accelerate the fire. But remember, we have lines in position. Maybe we got cock-off nozzles going. My point is, if I can save an occupancy or two, or someone has a family business that they have everything in these businesses, and instead of burning the whole thing down from stem to stern, which we unfortunately happens to us from time to time, because once these fires get going, why would we not try it once? Have a chief with the ability to say, you know what, we're going to try that, because I think it would work very well. I really do.
Well, what about row frames? What about a Pine Street?
Well, again, you could apply it anywhere, but I'm just talking about, to me, like the taxpayers, a more simplistic building to try it once. Let's see if this works or not. And then when we burn it down, you can blame the retired captain for messing.
Goldilocks over there told us to try this.
Yeah.
Nice job, John. So,
we did the same thing with more tools.
Yeah, right, exactly. Again, we're lucky in the FDNY. We have the resources to do this. So again, when we look at all the stuff we talked about, the tools like the wind impacted fires and all, for those members that are watching this podcast, just realize it still comes down to simple acts of like door control. You have a fire in this situation, and let's say the building's not that tall, right? We're talking, we have so many high rises in New York City. I think the last count was something like 15,000 high rises. It's some crazy number. But if you have a hand line that can reach the fire window from the ground, you don't need a high rise nozzle. And if you can somehow get down and control the door, and then take that line to the adjoining and knock a hole in the wall, that's old school operations anyway. You don't need all the specialty tools and the manpower we have. We're lucky in the FDNY, but if you don't have that, you can still learn an awful lot of lessons from what we did at Governor's Island 1 and Governor's Island 2.
So John, why just to be devil's advocate, any fire we pull up to, starting today, just get the line, stick it in the window, every fire, and then knock it down for 10 seconds and then go in the building.
Well,
why wouldn't we do that?
So let's say I have a private dwelling and the window that's blowing fires in the rear. I would not recommend taking the line to the rear, doing 10 seconds if you have one engine on scene, and then bringing the line back in the front. But if the opportunity's right there,
In the front of the building, you could you got four stories. You could reach the fourth floor with the line. You would say 10 seconds.
So what I would say is, if the mindset is to do whatever's best for the victim, because think about it.
Seems like that's the case.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it definitely seems like the science is.
Then yes, I would agree that is the best thing to do. Yes, in that scenario. But again, you have to keep the mindset of when the further the tip of the nozzle is from the window. Sorry about that.
You're right.
Important.
From the tip of the window, right? You can get some air entrainment, and the key is we don't want any air entrainment. So that's why when we say the 4 S's, we want that tip as close to that window as possible. Up and personal, flow it off the ceiling. Now, once you start backing up and starting to go 3 floors, 4 floors, that stream kind of breaks up a little bit, and you could potentially be adding, there could be some air entrainment. That's why you haven't heard me once talk about taking a deck pipe and flowing it in a window, right? Because a master stream is an entirely different creature. That is going to flow, or that is going to move a lot of air with it as it shoots up there. So, case in point, when we were in Chicago Fire Department, in those Robert Taylor houses, they would look, when they had a fire in those houses, they knew the standpipes were terrible, the elevator didn't work, and there was going to be a delay in getting up to the 13th, 14th, 15th floor. So their engine companies had stacked tips on their master stream, on their deck pipes, that could go vertical. And the way the valve was set up, they were able to hit fires 15 floors up. And all they looked to do was 5 seconds of water in the window. Now, this is all before the research. They were doing this. And all that did was it bought time for the engine to bring their hose up, cut a hole in the fence, lower the hose, get water to it, and go put the fire out. The truckies that I know that were working there said, John, I've seen it happen a number of times. You'd be at the apartment door, you hear the engine say, we're going to hit it. And he would crack the door, the line would go in, 5 seconds. They would see like some process of combustion kind of tumble around a little bit. Then there was still some lift, so it would go to the ceiling. They would dart in, do their search. The line would come. They'd finish it off. Again, what's best for them. The challenge in the New York City Fire Department is, how high up can a deck gun on an engine in the FDNY hit? What do you think? If Chicago gets 15 floors,
I don't know.
Not that high.
Like a lot.
I was going to say 10, not even 10. Right?
Not even. So we have a lock on our deck guns that don't allow you to do it. And now, when I was covering in the 11th, I did a few experiments with some of the companies. And you get up about to the 8th floor. And then one day I took that stop out and got vertical. You could definitely go higher. I put the stop back in because it's, I don't like to modify things without going through the proper channels of safety and, and through operations and things like, you got to do it right if you're ever going to do stuff like that. But the bottom line is, remember there were high-rise buildings near where Rescue 2's new quarters is now? Are you familiar with that area at all? There were these high-rises. So one day, 252, we went over there. We played around with hand lines. And so if you take a 2.5-inch hand line with 40 PSI at the tip and you flow it up the side of a building, you'll probably hit the 5th or 6th floor with a decent stream. You tweak it up to about 60, and again, you're being stationary. You're not moving. So with 2 people, you can still hold the line. At 60 PSI, you got maybe 7, 8, maybe, right? But if you go to the basement of almost every engine company in the city of New York, you're going to find a whole bunch of stream shapers down there, right? That go into deck pipes. They're all over the place, right? They're up on the shelf for the next museum visit or something, who knows what. But if you ever take one and look at it, there's just veins in there that straighten the stream out, okay? If you take a 2.5-inch line and you screw a stream shaper on it and then the regular nozzle and you put about 70 PSI on it, you can reach up 9 or 10 floors with a really nice stream. It's amazing. It's amazing what you can do with that. You got to play around with them. And it's just zero cost to the department, and it works really, really, really well. So incredible. There's one other thing I can leave you with. There's one on the slide there, Tank, that is the Beaufort scale. Is it a bunch of flags?
Yes.
Show some flags. Put that up. So here's a takeaway for wind-impacted fires. In the 1800s, there was an Irishman in the Royal Navy, in the English Royal Navy, and he came up with he wanted to figure out how to move his sailing ships, and he would look at the wavelets on the water, like little white caps. He would look at that and then determine how many sails he could put up to move the ship. Well, they call it the Beaufort scale, and what he did was he converted it to an American or any flag. It can be any type of flag. 4x6 generally, but it works for any size flag. When the flag starts to kind of like you start to see it and the top flips back and forth, that upper, outer tip like flops back and forth, that's around 8 to 12 miles an hour. When you start to see the whole flag, you're up around 16 miles per hour. And when the flag starts to kind of like starts to snap a little bit, right, you're over 20 miles per hour. And we know Vandalia Avenue is 20 miles per hour. So we don't really need to know anything more than that. When I was in 252 and we would make a lot of runs up to Knickerbocker and head points west, there was one school that had a really tall flagpole, and it always had the American flag out there. And I would get a wind speed direction of the wind on every run we went to. In Rescue 1, the minute you hit the west side and the circle line's right there, there's flags everywhere. I was always monitoring that because that always gave me what's the prevailing wind and roughly what wind speed it is. And when, like I said, anything above 10 miles per hour, heads up.
The thing in Manhattan is like the wind like picks up too. Like when it could be 10 miles an hour, but if it goes down certain avenues or something, it gets jacked up.
Well, that's why when you get off the rig and you try to determine the wind is not the same as that roof man on the floor above. That's why he's so critical. Now, if the roof man gets up to the floor above, and let's say for whatever reason the wind's hitting the other side of the building, and he does a wind speed, and then he gives a report, Chief, I have no wind condition on the floor above. Guess what? We're good. Just because there's a windy day, it depends where it's hitting the building.
Right.
And that's part of our size up. We have to get that roof man's got to get up there. And as you're going in the building, you got to look around. You got to look at what's going on and keep aware of that. That's also the reason why they want the KO curtain off the rig and up. Because if you try to figure it out, you get off the rig, go, we're good. Now you get up there.
And now it's
right.
Ripping. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You ever
it's going to happen.
Like the day there's no wind, you go to the roof of the building and you're holding on for dear life. Yeah. That's what happens, not just in Manhattan, but in any area where there's high rises, that's what happens. So that's why you always have to be sizing up the wind. But again, just because there's wind doesn't mean we pack up our tools and go home. No, where's it hitting the building? What's it doing? But what I would say is when you have a windy day, you know what? Just be cautious a little bit. Do your homework. When you get to that apartment door, is there pressure, the smoke under pressure? There's smoke under pressure. I would highly recommend not forcing that door. If you want to gap the door a little bit, Captain Morris was great about gapping the door. When you gap it, you're getting a little pressure. Hold off. Maybe take the spike of the Halligan, drive it through the peephole, see what you get out of it. Again, when you think you have a wind condition, that's all it is. And if you think that you pop that door and it's going to be hellacious, go to the adjoining apartment, figure out where the best hole in the wall is, nice small hole, put some water through there, maybe make that hole bigger, maybe a little bit bigger, step through the hole, blah, 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 and finish it off. It's
right.
Again.
There's the nuggets for that one, Kubi. That's a good
Whoa,
one.
hold on a minute.
Yeah.
It is. There's another one.
Taking a peephole, that's a new one.
I like the peephole one.
High-rise firefighting, you have to be savvy. That's all it is. And just be aware of what's going on and just know that things can go south really fast at any fire. But the high-rise buildings, the way New York City has been impacted is always big. Another thing I can leave you with, right, is a reading assignment. Okay? In the Mouth of the Dragon
Where do we
by
see
Deborah
that?
Wallace.
Oh,
Toxic Fires in the Age of Plastics.
We know a thing or two about that one.
This woman, she's an elderly woman now, Deborah Wallace, her and her husband. She wrote this book. They talk about the New York Telephone Company fire, right. Stouffer's Inn up in Westchester, the MGA Grand in Las Vegas, a PATH train fire. But the beginning of it, she talks about how plastic polymers are made. And it was fascinating. It taught me an awful lot. Now, this book is not copywritten anymore, so you can get it on Amazon, but they're hard to find now.
Didn't she come out with a second one? Did she come out with a second one?
Yes.
Again?
She did. She came out with a second one, I believe.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Really? Okay.
Yeah,
And
I think Lieb knows her, right?
Yes,
he
he helped do it. He helped do the second part or the third part or whatever it is now.
Frank had her come to a Chiefs meeting and on Randall's Island, on Fort Totten. They had a Chiefs. They have a Chiefs, meeting there every month or so. And she came and talked about it. What she really took some shots at the FDNY. Again, not meaning to, but how they handled the members after the New York telephone fire.
Oh yeah.
Again,
terrible.
Right. But I think it was our people just didn't understand the magnitude of the PCBs and what that would do to you. It wasn't they knew it and said nothing. You know what I mean? I don't believe that at all. I think the Chiefs back then were great people, and they would never do anything like that. At least not on purpose or anything like that.
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly right. Now I would say what bothers me a little bit about the New York telephone fire and then connecting September 11th is like, if you thought the air was good down at Ground Zero, I didn't need Christy Todd Whitman telling me that it was good. I knew it wasn't good, and also because we understood what happened to our brothers in the telephone fire, that we knew it was going to be a problem for us. Yep. So, do we have any questions from anybody?
Any questions in the chat, boys
I haven't
and girls?
seen any yet.
Let me see.
There'll be something.
So
yeah, only one left on Amazon. $150. Pee Wee just said.
Nate, see, look at that! Wow,
yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
I do want to say something. It's so funny, like especially mainly related to your Governor's Island 2 tests.
Yep.
How that's so outside of the box for the FDNY, but it's so the normal box for so much of the other of the country, specifically like where I'm at. Like the transitional attack, that's almost every fire. And like that fire I showed y'all a picture of in the pre-show that we just had a couple weeks ago, that's exactly what we did. Like I said, I showed up in the buggy, I was getting dressed, a mutual aid engine pulls up first, they stretch a line, they hit it, I get up to them, and we push in. I go in ahead of the line doing the primary, and they're coming in behind me. I'm going to show the picture because I'm in charge of the controls and I can do that. Yep. We knocked that down, got in. We didn't have a report of people trapped, but we had confirmation that people lived there. We didn't know where they were. So obviously till we get in and do our thing, they're there till we say they're not. But one line there, and like I told y'all, 20 minutes, the whole place was out. We had like 4 or 5 rooms going in that trailer, and one line applied effectively from the outside for a brief moment, and then we pushed in, did the primary. We're still fighting a fire. That's our normal. Now, we don't have high rises, but we have 3-4 story buildings. We got 5,000-6,000 square foot houses, single wide trailers. I mean, we can give you everything but a high rise down here.
What about the double wide? You get the double wide?
Oh man. Oh, fancy highfalutin living right there, baby. Come on. It's just so funny how I'm watching Lou and Kev's face, and I'm listening, and I'm watching the comments, and it's like, y'all gotta come down here and ride with your boy, because this is real life. This is normal life down here. So it's just funny how different it is. It's
I always took that as because you didn't have the amount of people we had, right? I mean, that's what
that was a whole other point that I was thinking about too. Yeah, like
right.
we were rolling up with 3 guys.
We got 200 guys showing up to a 1075, so we should be able to run into the building, get a line set up and push in, and we don't have to do any of that stuff. But John is always on the forefront there, and he's able to take the ribbon, from a department that is supposed to be, tough, and that's how the tradition is, and he can take it, and facts are the facts. That's it. You know what I mean? That's it. You can't beat the facts.
And people love the
homework, and I believe me, I didn't, like I said, when we first flowed the high-rise nozzle, I'm like, this is going to be amazing. We're going to see fireballs, and it didn't happen. And you're right, and the subsequent research has just backed everything up. And if you really delve into all of UL's material on their Fire Safety Research Institute, they, each nugget that they tackle isn't the engineers sitting somewhere going, oh, let's see how we're going to mess with the fireman's head today. No, it's the fire service coming to them saying, hey, listen, we got this situation. Is there any way you can help us with this? You know what? I think the next round of research is going to be multiple dwellings, because we're going to look at, when you vertically vent over the stairwell, what's the fire do in the flat? Okay.
Listen, just in the amount of time listening to you, just the amount of time that we've had you on the show, right? What we were making fun. I learned we learned the triangle, right? It was nothing, right? We didn't know anything about, the couple of things that you said when we watched the video, dirty smoke. Like, I've seen that like a lot of times where you get in there and there's smoke everywhere, right? You can't even get down to the floor and you can't see anything. But now I know why that is. You know what I mean? Because of the research that you did. I'm
ready to go back, Roof. I'll tell you that much. I'm ready to get back into it.
Hell no.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
But if I was a new guy, and that's what I was taught.
Eat this up, man.
Now, right? Yeah, that's a big difference, right? You can't teach guys who took glass as they went, and you just had water, the line, and that's it. It's tough to reassign those guys. But now you got a department that's, so young, compared to what we think. And, those guys are, I'm sure they're much more in tune with everything that you're saying, because that's what they're learning from the beginning. It's not like they're trying to change what their thoughts are. You know what I mean? So, I mean, obviously
there's a question for you, Cap.
That question up there. Yeah. So the Breslin distributor, we didn't go in that direction because we kind of felt it was better to get the stream bounce it off the ceiling on the floor above. However, I know Brent Brooks very well. He's a fantastic individual from the Montreal Fire Service, and he's been playing with the Breslin distributor quite a bit, lowering it from the floors above down over the fire apartment on fire. And I think you're relatively safe on the floors above in a high-rise building. You've all been there. It's you got to be careful. You get a little exposure to the floor above, maybe, but you're not going to have it leaping floors and floors. So, but those logistics are hard too. You got to get above. You got to get standpipe. You're going to be stealing water from wherever they're flowing water downstairs and everything. But does it work? Yeah, it does. It works. Listen, getting water on a fire is always good, no matter how you can do it. And
the sooner you get it, the better.
Right. And I think whatever you're going to do, just make sure you have that plan and everyone's on board and it's communicated and you know what you're doing. That's it. And be good at it.
Yeah.
I think like what you're talking about, if you people are good at it and you give it that quick hit and go and everyone knows that's the how we're operating, guess what? Very successful.
Look at that, Gabe Fox. Don't invest your ego in strategies and tactics.
That's it.
Wow.
I mean, like I said, that's what we do, and it is a huge staffing thing. And I'm gonna take a lot of heat for this one from some people. They'll never say nothing to us, but they'll get their panties in a wad about it, and that's okay. People love to hate on the FDNY, but everybody's watching the FDNY, and when the FDNY is doing things like this, and they're seeing outside the box, and they're training new things and trying new tactics. And for places like where I'm from, we can see that what we're doing is okay and it's working. We know it works for us, but then other people start to see it. Everybody's watching. So when the FDNY is doing this, it may not be an every time y'all go to a fire thing, but the fact that y'all are doing it and trying it out is showing other people, hey, what we're doing is legit and what we're doing is all right, because people are watching the FDNY, whether they want to admit it or not, and they don't want to admit it because I don't know why. Because they hate how much they love it secretly, so they got to not let people know about it. But it helps because, like it or not, the FDNY really sets the standard for the American fire service, and y'all are kind of in the front running of it. And when y'all are doing these things, people are watching and they're knowing, and it is what it is. Truth. People can be mad about it.
Tank, the way I look at it, the difference between you and I is I grew up on Long Island and you grew up down there. If you grew up, if we flip our souls, guess what? You would have been a New York City fireman and I would have been a fireman down there. That's just the way, you know what I mean? Like, it's the luck of the draw that I was born where I was born and I had influence and the ability to become a New York City fireman.
Right.
Like, cool. So it's and I said it earlier with the, be curious, not judgmental. And that's the bottom line is like, I'll ask guys, well, why do you guys do that? And a lot of times they'll come up and I'll go, wow, I never thought of that before. That's amazing. Fantastic. Good. And you do it well. I'm in. And that's how I think you have to go. You ever see that nozzle at FDIC where from the outside it has a nozzle pointing out like on a fog pattern, and then there's one solid stream pointing in? You ever seen that thing?
No.
Oh, it's wild. It's wild. And guess what? It works really well.
And a fireman invented it.
I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't do it. Even the Fit 5 that we tested on Governor's Island. If you're a rural fire department and you know the engine's 25 minutes away and you're the chief on scene, I think that's a great tool. You could throw it into one room, get the door shut, it knocks the fire out, and it allows you to search the rest of the room. Okay. We're not going to use it, but if that's what you need, again, whatever's best for them.
Yeah, different things apply to different.
You got
places.
the Rockwell, baby. You got the Rockwell.
You got the Rockwell. I'm swinging the Rockwell, baby. And the guy says to me, I say, shut the fuck up, will you?
that was a chief in Detroit. Chief Dombrowski.
Yeah, I'm swinging the Rockwell.
You got a job. You got a couple rooms going. He's from Detroit. He's like, you get the Rockwell. I guess it was a Navy nozzle that they had back in the day. So he's like, yeah, you got the Rockwell, baby. You got and you're moving in. And now some guys, they start lining up behind you a little bit. Now you got like 5 or 6 guys behind you. And, all of a sudden you start hearing as you're moving in, you start hearing the guy who's like 5 or 6, guys behind you. He's like, maybe I shouldn't say it. He's like, nah, you know what? I'm going to say it. He's like, when that guy starts going, come on, move. He's like, you know what? Shut the fuck up. He goes, I'm trying to do the best I can up here, man. I'm taking the heat, man.
Right.
I go, Chief, that's probably the squad.
That's another reason why, again, when you're in special ops and you are getting to boxes a little delayed, usually, right? And so they've been cooking in there in the oven.
Yeah. And always you show up to 6
and you
guys
get in
back.
there, you're all fresh,
Yeah,
you're going to be able to take the heat. But again, when you understand how our gear handles that thermal insult, guess what? You realize
John, the flashover simulator that we had, right? The box. If you were 2 guys behind, you could stay there all day. Like when you're lined up, right? When they do it, if you're the first guy, you're screaming, squirming in that front seat, man, because you're, And
that's why that's such a good device. It's not a real fire. It's not supposed to be a real fire, but it starts putting into your Rolodex of information experiences that you can then utilize in the real world on a fire.
It was real enough to me. I was burning up.
All
right.
We got 2 quick commercials to play. Let's play the health and safety tip. I got a good one.
Gotcha.
Do it.
The First Responders Center for Excellence is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to protecting the lives and livelihoods of first responders. Their education and research initiatives aim to bring greater awareness and understanding to the challenges to the health, safety, and well-being of firefighters, EMS personnel, and other first responders, too. They are an affiliate of the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation.
Its health and safety tip is never, and I mean never, Tank, store your bunker gear inside of your car or home. And bunker gear must be transported. Use a gear bag. I mean, you put your kids in the car seat back there. Don't be throwing your gear back there.
Don't be throwing your shit in it. Come on.
You don't have to subject your wife
Come
and
on.
kids to that crap.
Come on.
I have a special FRCE green gear bag that Franklin Lee gave me.
I got one too. Brown nose.
I didn't get shit.
Commercial. Well, you're not on the inside. You know what I'm saying? I can't help that. Play the other one, Collectors Club, please. And
We at the Gettin Salty Experience are excited to announce the launch of the New York City Collectors Club, a brand new spin-off of the FD Collectors Club dedicated exclusively to New York City firehouses. Here's the deal. No more worrying about stopping by a firehouse when the crew's out on a run, and no more rolling the dice on questionable patches and coins off eBay. With this club, everything you receive is 100% authentic, straight from New York City firehouses. And the best part? A portion of every subscription goes directly to firefighter charities each month. Now, because you're a part of the Gettin Salty podcast community, you'll get 50% off your first month. That means you can join for just $14.99. All you have to do is use the code Gettin Salty at checkout. So if you're a collector looking for something real, meaningful, and straight from the source while giving back to New York City's best and bravest, the New York City Collectors Club is for you.
It's a great gift. Tom's a great guy from Squad 1, bro. He sent me a box. It's fun. You open it up. You have all different stuff in there. Send it to somebody. It's a great gift. One last thing here. It is, let's see, I will be down in Wildwood, New Jersey for the Wildwood Expo, September 17th and 18th. We are in booth. We changed our booth now. We're in spot 90 to 92 in the South parking lot. Come look for us. We'll be with the guys from U.S. Fire Services. So come check out me and my little Asian buddies, my sons. We'll be hawking our wares down there doing it. Right, Roof?
You got it, baby.
You know how to do it. Next week, Roof is not here for his birthday. Happy birthday, brother. I'll be here with Kenny, and we have on Dave Marmon from Rescue One coming on the show. I knew you'd say it. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Davey, he's the best.
Cap,
All one.
great show again, man. We got to get you to beat Leaves.
I'm sure we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Come up.
Coobs will be like all over you and be like,
here we go. Here we go again. Listen, just because I have a relationship with you, don't be jealous of it. Don't hate it. All right? Don't be a hater. All right, boys.
He likes the bear anyway. You know?
Yeah, I know it. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Well, Kenny and I will. Roof will be blowing out his candles down in Florida. Tank, thanks for filling in for the cruise guy.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, and we'll see you next week. Yeah. Me and Kenny. Cap, thanks so much. Till
thanks
then.
again, Cap.
Stay low and go. I got that shirt. No, I got your shirt on, Rookie.
See you at the big one, baby.
At the big one. Yeah. Peace out.
All right, fam. We'll see you at the fire floor.